Hey guys, it's Laura Dabbles here, and I'm trying to make more of an effort to, record the process of my fluff to stuff projects, right? So basically hand spun, hand knit projects. This is yak. This is how yak comes when you buy it. It comes as like a cloud. It's kind of like cotton candy. You know how like you can peel cotton candy? That's kind of how you're going to peel this yak, right? It comes very, very dense, right? I bought 8 ounces of yak, but I'm really starting to feel like 8 ounces of yak is a lot more than 8 ounces of wool, just because I think the individual hairs are so fine. So what I do basically is I take these little pieces and I just kind of draft them out. And I like to try to draft them out into strips, kind of like how roving and top come, just because I'm so accustomed to spinning my fiber in a strip form or rolag form that I kind of try to get it like that. And you can see that just from doing a little bit of lazy one-handed drafting, I turned that one thing into somewhat of a strip. Right, so these are all kind of pre-drafted. I like to pre-draft these clouds because I am doing a true woolen spin. So I kind of want to get as much air into these dense clouds as possible and make them more airy clouds, right? So over here we have the actual spinning wheel that I'm using. This is the Heavenly Hand Spinning Arrow. This is a really, really great large spinning wheel for a great price. I believe I paid $400 and 50, and then an additional 50 for extra bobbins because it comes with 3. So these bobbins, I think they're like 12 ounce or 18 ounce. I don't know. It's an ungodly amount. As you can see, this isn't even 4 ounces and it already looks like it's pretty full. So, yep. And here we have our actual string coming off. This is about 45 WPI. It's actually thinner in some places. So that's why I say it's about 45 WPI because it really gets no bigger than 45 WPI. Yes. So right now I'm spinning up 8 ounces of this. 4 ounces on one bobbin, 4 ounces on another bobbin. And I want to do a third ply. I'm thinking that my third ply is going to be alpaca. Because I want to do a really, really large project with this, right? But I only got 8 ounces. Yak is really expensive, guys. But alpaca and yak kind of feel very similar. So I'm thinking about doing a third ply that is alpaca. Yes. So I'll show you the fiber prep that I will do for that to get a true woolen when I get done spinning up all of this. Okay, so I finally finished spinning up the 8 ounces of yak, and now I'm moving on to brushing up the alpaca. I'm brushing the alpaca because the alpaca that I have comes from this cute little farm here in Texas. It's not that far away from Houston, actually. And whenever she sent it to me, she sent me the names of the alpaca that the fur came from. Anyway, it was super cute. I'll have to find the name and link it because I love her alpaca. Anywho, not to get off topic, but I have white and brown alpaca, right? I thought about spinning them together, but then I was like, wait, I want this yarn to be a true woolen, and this is a roving, so it's not top, right? A roving, think of a roving as like a lazy top, right? You can see that the fibers are mostly all going in the same direction, but they've been a little roughed up a bit, right? So they're mostly parallel, but some of the fibers are perpendicular. So it's kind of like a semi between a woolen and a worsted fiber prep, right? Whereas a top would be a woollen, no, worsted, yes, worsted. Would be a more compact worsted fiber prep. Roving is somewhere in between. So because I want a true woolen, I want to brush these into rolags. Also, if I were to spin these kind of like how I have them here, if I were to spin them like this, they would make a barber pole, which I don't want. I want a heather. Now, whenever I am brushing my Rolags into a nice heather like this, I put down one layer of one color, so I started with the white, and then I do the second layer in the other color, and that makes pretty much a perfect heather. I start at the bottom and I go towards the top because of the way that my prongs are pointed, right? See how the prongs are pointed that way? So you want to start at the bottom and peel your way off to the top, because whatever's on the bottom layer will pull what's off of these layers, right? Kind of like, y'all get layering. I'm not going to try to explain layering. It just, everything flows better. You don't get tufts of fiber if you start at the bottom and do this with your roving. Now, if you start up here and you go all the way down, and you start up here and you go all the way down, guess what? You're going to get tufts of fiber stuck in here. I can get all of my fiber off of my board with absolutely no problem if I do short increments going from bottom to top. And that's especially important if you want a good heather that's like perfectly, totally heathered, well, as much as you can from one carding. That's how you get it to be most efficient of a heather. Anyway, I am going to brush up all of this. Yes. And then I will spin it. So this is what she looks like all plied up. Well, not all plied up. Obviously, I just started plying. But you can see how gorgeous it looks. Yeah, and like also as like the heather of the alpaca is sometimes more white and sometimes more brown. It looks really great. I will draw your attention here. Every time you 3-ply, you see how the bottom 2 strings are starting to ply on their own, and then this one is kind of plying around these 2 plying. That's why I put my alpaca in the middle of my lazy Kate. That way, one of the yak strings will always wrap more around that one. That way, it's not the alpaca string wrapping around the 2 yak strings. It will always be a yak and an alpaca wrapped together with another yak wrapped around those. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed that weird tidbit that happens when you're spinning, but these 2 get just a little bit, 2 will always get just a little bit more twist and will always ply a little bit faster. You can mitigate that a lot by holding the strings exactly between your fingers and making sure they come out right at the exact same angle. So not hold your hand like this and not hold your hand like that. Hold your hand like this. All right, guys, so here are our finished skeins. 2-ply yak, 1-ply alpaca. Now, what I did was, this isn't 1-ply 4 ounces yak, 1-ply 4 ounces yak, 1-ply 4 ounces alpaca. Is actually more like 5 ounces or like 130 something grams of alpaca, because as I was spinning the yak, I was like, man, this is taking forever. I started to wonder if 8 ounces of yak is actually a lot more fiber than 8 ounces of wool and 8 ounces of alpaca is. The yak is a lot more fiber per ounce. You get a lot more yardage per ounce of yak than you do alpaca, because despite spinning 8 ounces of yak with 5 ounces of alpaca, I still have this much more yak. This is not a huge skein, but this is a good 45 gram skein, half skein, right? That's a lot of leftover yak considering how much alpaca was in there, right? Now, this is a 3-ply of my leftover yak. What I did was I took one of my bobbins, because I had a lot of yak left over. I was surprised how much more you get per ounce of yak than you get per ounce of other fibers. So what I did was I put a 3rd bobbin, like I tried to distribute evenly. I did okay distributing it evenly. But basically I did a no-waste 3-ply out of my remaining 2 bobbins. So I distributed them across a 3rd bobbin, did a traditional 3-ply for as long as that lasted. One of the bobbins ran out way sooner than the other 2. So I made a center pull ball out of the remaining one that looked like it had the most. and then began spinning from the inside and outside of the center pull ball. So some sections of this is traditional 3-ply, some sections of this is center pull ball plus 1. And then whenever you're plying from a center pull ball, when you meet in the middle, you get a loop, right? Well, I had like several yards left. I would say probably about a good 50 yards left of yak single still on the final bobbin. So I used that loop coming off the center pull ball to begin my chain ply. So the tail end of this skein is actually a chain ply. So this is a bit of a hodgepodge, no waste 3-ply, because I didn't want to waste any of my yak, and that's how I did it. So you guys have that in mind. So this is going to be like a pair of fingerless gloves or something like that. I haven't decided if I'm going to over dye it or not, because the whole intention of this is to over dye it. I don't actually like mixing browns and mixing natural browns with whites because I don't really like barber poles. So in order to kind of bring this together and make it less barber pole-y, I'm going to over dye this red. It's still going to look barber pole-ish, but it's going to be over dyed to where I feel like a mix of reds is going to look better than a mix of browns and white, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to use my Jacquard acid dye russet. Okay guys, I want to show you guys something. This is like the peak of like dyeing yarn. Is when it comes out clear. Look, my water's like basically clear. Oh my lord. I put like 7 of these in there. I think this is like a teaspoon. Anyway, it's like 7 teaspoons of Jacquard acid dye russet. Ta-da! So pretty. Okay. We're going to let this cool off, and then we're going to rinse it, whack it, let it dry. Then calculate all the yardage. Okay, guys, so here we are at the end of our Yakpalca yarn journey. I've been calling this my Yakpalca now because it just sounds so cute. As you guys can see, the overdyeing turned out really, really well. I did overpack my pan just a little bit, so I'm getting this very interesting mottling effect, where some of it is more of a deep burgundy red, and some is more of a lighter red. The yak seems to have absorbed the red dye better than the alpaca did. So the yak is very much always going to be a burgundy. And basically the alpaca is what is going from a deep red to a light red. So that's pretty neat to me, actually, that it happened that way. But overall, it is a very nice color. Very nice. This is going to be a stole. So like not necessarily a proper like shawl, like in the ways that we think of shawls, but like a stole. That way I can also use it as a lap blanket if I want to, and things like that. Now this, I think I forgot to say, this is 1,300 yards. 1,300 yards. So I can make a very big stole out of that. This, my leftover yak that I made a 3-ply with, this is only 285 yards. So I was right, they're going to be fingerless gloves of some sort, but it's going to be so luxurious and soft. I was thinking about doing ankle socks, but this is such a nice fine luxury fiber. I don't know that I want them on my feet walking around in them. I think I would like the yak as fingerless gloves much better. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I do have a lot of knitting projects going on, so it'll be a while before I get to knitting any of this up. I have a lot of hand spun yarn that I also haven't knitted up yet. I make more yarn than I can knit. What can I say? It's a thing. People buy more yarn than they can knit. I make more yarn than I can knit. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this process of taking things from fluff to yarn and then later to stuff. We'll see. Stick around. Of course, my Instagram is a great place to see everything that I am doing at the moment. So if you're not on my Instagram, it is at Delora_dabbles on Instagram. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and we will get right back to all of the delicious dabbly goodness of this channel in the next video. And until next time, happy dabbling and bye-bye.